to a new direction. My name is Jay Izzo, and oh man, do we have a great show for you today. I am telling you what. All right, I'm gonna buckle up. All right, I'm just gonna tell you, buckle up, leaders. All right, I am telling you right now, this is a leadership show that is not for the faint of heart. All right, if you have been a leader who is ever wondering, how do I fit in to the organization? This book's for you. If you're an organization that goes, what kind of leader do I really need to be successful? This book's for you. If you are somebody who goes, I'd like to be a leader, but I really just don't know who I am. This book's for you. Folks, this book is called Right Leader, Right Time, written by Robert Jordan and Olivia Wagner. Secondary title is Discover Your Leadership Style for a Winning Career and Company. Folks, I'm just going to tell you something personally, that this book was not only inspirational to you, but it was the first time I've ever felt understood by somebody who wrote a leadership book, and Robert and Olivia have done that. I'm going to have Robert Jordan with me here, and we're going to talk to him in just a second. But before we do that, let's do what we do every week, right? I walk you through the 4 areas of your life. We're 4-part people. We're physical, mental, emotional, spiritual people. The truth of the matter is, you know what? We've got to be growing in all 4 of those areas. And if we're not growing, we're dying. By the way, somebody in his book actually says the same thing I did. It's pretty cool that they said that. But the truth is we're not. Here's how it works. We rank ourselves on a scale of 1 to 10, 5 being average in each area. So let's take the physical. So if you were to evaluate yourself on eating right, getting enough exercise, getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, going to the doctor when you should do that, what would you give you on a scale of 1 to 10, right? Would you say average? Would you say 2? Now listen, whatever that number is, it doesn't matter. Okay, it just doesn't matter what that number is. The point of the matter is that number is your starting place to move to the next number. We're not trying to go from a 2 to a 10 or a 3 to a 10 or even a 7 to the 10. We're just trying to get to that next notch, right? Maybe 2.5, right? You know, because there's always something that we could do right now in every one of these areas that we can make a change. All right, so physical, that's your first number. Second number, right, it's the mental intellectual number, right? Don't be a couch potato thinking that information could come at you. We need to be active in our learning. We need to grow in our knowledge of what we're doing. We need to be constant learners, right? And we need to be exercising both halves of our brain. As a psychological professional, I could tell you that we need to exercise the right half of the brain, which is creative, and the left half of the brain, which is logical. And we need to be actively learning and being a participant in that. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you think you're doing in your intellectual area? That's your second number. The third number is the emotional area. And here's the thing with the emotional area, right? We break it down into 2 basic parts, right? Daniel Goleman has written all sorts of work on emotional quotients and emotional intelligence, but we do it simply. How would you say you're doing in regard to controlling your emotions under stress and pressure? That's the first part. And then the second part is, how well are you able to tap into and understand the emotions of others and truly listen and understand them? Right, here's the deal, right? The truth of the matter is that we're always in control of our emotions. We feel things, but we can control them. And the truth is, we have to be intentional about listening to others. I can tell you something right now. Great leaders, regardless of what you are, fixer, artist, builder, strategist, guess what? Both of those things are absolutely required. All right. So what number would you give yourself? Okay, that's your third number. Fourth number is spiritual number. And you know what? We all have a spirit. We all connect to something. There is something inside of us that drives us, that moves us, that goes beyond our emotions, beyond our physical ability, beyond our intellect, that drives us. We call it the spirit of the human spirit, sometimes we'll call it. But then beyond that, what brings you to centeredness in the midst of chaos? What brings you to joy even when things are not joyous? Is it God? Is it nature? Is it something else? Is it meditation? And then you have to ask yourself the question, is it working for you? What do you need to do to change it, to make it work for you? Those 4 numbers are like the air in the tires of your car, right? If the tire of your car is flat, what happens? The car doesn't run right, can skid, can go in the wrong direction. It can wind up being places that you don't want it to be. If all 4 areas are too low, what happens? The car doesn't run right. You can ruin the car over the course of time. We want to bring our tires to the right height so that the car ourselves can run efficiently. And speaking of someone who does that exceptionally well, his name is Robert Jordan. Robert Jordan created Online Access. You may have heard of it. I know I have. The first internet coverage magazine worldwide, landing on Inc.'s 500 fastest growing companies list. After the sale of the magazine, he launched Interim Exec's RED team, which stands for Rapid Executive Deployment, matching rock star leadership with companies seeking to achieve extraordinary results. Robert is co-author of Right Leader, Right Time, this book, Discover Your Leadership Style for a Winning Career and Company. He's also author of How They Did It, $1 Billion Insights from the Heart of America, and publishing partner for Start with Jim Camp's bestseller on negotiation, a lifelong Chicagoan, and I love Chicago. Husband, father, he shares an Instagram account with his dog, Norman, who you can follow, by the way, at norman.clater.com. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, and welcome for the first time, and surely not the last time, Robert Jordan. Robert, welcome to the show.
Jay, thank you so much. It's an honor to be with you.
All right, Robert, let's dig in. All right, because this book is so full and it's got so much in it. There's something that you did here in the preface of the book. So one of the things that you say here is that no matter what your reaction, if you desire to become a better leader, we will tell you this: you're in the right place. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think so many of us are distracted. Distraction is the epidemic, and discouraged. And, you know, you just look at the news if you want to get depressed. And this isn't outside, this is all of us. And if you're blessed to lead, and I mean lead in the sense of it could be a big organization, could be small, could be that you just have one other person you're responsible for in an organization. You're a leader. You're not immune to any of these problems. In fact, you're going to be more at risk. And so I hope, I mean, our goal was, can this be, you know, this experience of going on a journey together to explore through this book, can that be something that's going to be a comfort and nurturing to you in your world, and especially if you are leading anything? Can we give you a little bit of help there?
Yeah. Well,
then you're in the right place.
Yeah, I could say from my perspective, absolutely, you've accomplished that. I'm just saying that honestly. All right, so why don't we dig into these, because I think we need to. The chapter 1, I guess technically you don't really do chapters, but we'll call it chapter 1. We're gonna call it the fixer. Who is the fixer?
So just to give the overview, and I know you said before, so the finding that we had because we have this business of being a matchmaker around the world, this business called Interim Execs. 7,000 executives showed up on our doorstep proverbially. You know, that's a line about 4 miles outside your office, Jay, if they were all at once. Well, that caused us to set up systems looking at those people. And we saw one pattern that was not good. The majority of the executives showing up were having careers and leadership experiences that you would describe as okay, but you wouldn't say they were great. The flip side was that if you looked at the top 2, 3, 4%, oh my God, amazing careers and leadership journeys. And they tended to fit into one of 4, what we called leadership styles. They had a process, they had an approach, they had a system. And that over time, it became better and better known to themselves, and that it caused success. So we label those fixers, artists, builders, and strategists.
Okay.
And just one word on the pattern of the majority that was not so great. If you want to boil it down into one thing, it is that those folks were trying to be all things to all people. And if you say that to someone, they'll be like, oh, no, that's not me. But it comes out in ways that do not, when you understand the contrast. So to dive in here.
Okay, well, hold on. I'm just because you just triggered something in me. Because the truth of the matter is that the leaders that I do talk to, right, and some that I coach, they may say that they're not trying to be all things to all people, but they act as if they are trying to be all things to all people.
Right.
So they do try to be a fixer, who we're going to talk about, and on an artist, and they try to be a builder, they try to be a strategist, and they believe, I think, based on their behavior, that they have to be all of these things in order to be successful. Now, they may not say it verbally. Where's the disconnect?
Well, we're not trying to pigeonhole any person to saying you are just this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
All leaders, you bring all your capabilities to bear, and in different situations, different capabilities you have, they're going to be necessary. What we would say is that we observed in exceptional leaders, there tends to be a dominant style or a dominant in the secondary. And that it's best to look at these styles a little like DNA. DNA, they're just 4 proteins, they're called nucleotides, that make up all of biological life, whether it's your Aunt Mary, your favorite dog, the oak tree outside, 4 kinds of DNA, that's it. But it's this endless variation. And that's what we think of leadership, how we would describe leadership. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's really important because, by the way, rightleader.com is the website. And if people want to take the assessment, I did, by the way, take the assessment. You could take this assessment. I had an idea going in what I thought I might be after reading the book, and then it just confirmed it. So I want people to know rightleader.com, correct? Did I got that right? Yeah. And they could take their own assessment on this as well, because I kind of felt like I was a lot of things, but you're right. There was one dominant that just, when I went through the list afterwards, I went, oh yeah, I'm all those things. Yeah. Some of them I had maybe some higher scores than other of those, but really my dominant was particular one. Okay.
In particular, Jay, because you are successful and you've worked through thousands of challenges in a long career. Even though for sure you have a dominant energy, which is artist, you absolutely exhibit all kinds of winning characteristics in fixing and building and in strategy. It's just what we were trying to get at is this phrase that we use in the book is highest and best use. And what we're saying is, if we can all, well, I'll put it to you the way what we say of exceptional leaders. Exceptional leaders tend to reject more of what is not for their highest and best use. And then there's a corollary there we will put into the book, which is this ability as you go through your career to double down more and more into these things at which you're great. The corollary is better collaboration. Both you'll exhibit better collaboration, but also you better exhibit better collaboration, because this is the flip side of people that are trying to be all things to all people. They're not really great collaborators. Because if you're insecure about what you're really great at, you're never really giving up to someone else to say, oh, you're better at running with the ball in this thing and I'm better at this.
Right.
Yeah,
no, I totally.
I would add something else, which is a lot of folks who have taken the assessment are like, great, what do I do? What do I do with this? And my answer is have a conversation. Have a conversation with people you work with. If they want to take the assessment, that's great. And if not, simply understanding, like you and I, Jay, are getting to know each other, and you and I are both artist wiring to our peril.
Yeah.
To our peril. It's that creative spark. Everyone's like, oh, it's like Elon Musk. Yeah, well, it also means a lot of your projects are going to fail.
Right.
And so to be in any kind of organization or team or any effort, the more that people know this is the way Jay is wired. This is how he's wired. And if we want to succeed as a team, then there are certain things we absolutely need to give to Jay. And there are other things we should not give to Jay or Bob. and to know the rest of the team with some more genuineness is to say, well, you got this other teammate, Sharon, and she's just a brilliant builder, that there are going to be tasks and projects, which is please give it to Sharon. Right. And that's how teams can do better.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. Okay. So now Can we go to Fixer?
Okay, so Fixer is the leadership style and energy that runs into the burning building. The thing that distinguishes Fixer is they have to run into the burning building, and they have to keep on doing that. Okay, it's a kind of wiring acquired through work, such that if you take a successful fixer, put them back into a steady state business division, whatever, they're going to go crazy, or they're going to start breaking things. They need crisis. It's the adrenaline fix of it that they have to have. So to give you an example in the world, if everyone's thinking, well, it's not me, I wonder who is. As you and I are recording this, Jay, there is a huge blow up in the world called FTX.
Yes.
Large crypto exchange, probably 1 million creditors. It's a huge mess. The court appointed a veteran fixer. His title is CEO, but his name is John Ray. And if you look up John Ray, it's not an accident. What was he doing before FTX? Enron. Right? That is the MO of the fixer. Right?
Yeah. I get it. So the thing that you say,
for your listeners, if they're wondering, is this me? Or, if you have a child who's at work, whatever, the typical way fixer comes around is that early in their career, they're bright, they're hardworking, they're motivated. They're in some organization, and someone around them says, Jay's really smart. And we got this problem in another country with another set of clients in another division. And they say, no one else can solve this problem. Let's throw Jay at it. He'll probably screw it up, but let's just go throw Jay at it. Well, you go in there and you crush it.
Right.
It takes 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever it is, but you're hooked. And if you're hooked, you can't go back to steady state. Your company organization needs to give you another big problem nobody could solve, or you need to move on to something else.
Right.
Nothing else is going to satisfy. That's fixer energy, dominant fixer energy.
You talk about that velocity is the mantra for the fixer.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We interviewed, in our research, we interviewed many executives and leaders, and didn't give it away up front what this whole framework and thesis was in the book. We're asking them questions like, why do you do what you do? How did you? And we knew, because to talk to folks, for example, who are veteran fixers, they have a pattern throughout their careers. They fixed this, they saved this company, they saved 1,000 jobs here, all of that. And so the wiring was very different, right? And so we would be going through this, and you could see all of these differences in language. And we call them in the book mantras. The mantra of the fixer is velocity, because you're going into crisis. You do not have the luxury of unlimited time. You don't. We'll pick on John Ray a little more, FTX. Within 3 or 4 days of entering FTX, he'd already identified where cash was that previously could not be found. He was trying to grab as fast as he could onto massive amounts of cash that could be siphoned off. So velocity is mantra for fixers. The other is, we can talk about them. Artist, it's the act of creation. For the builder, it is they have market on the brain. They need to dominate a market. For the strategist, it's cadence. You have a vast or complex organization, and there is a heartbeat to the board. There's a heartbeat to the marketing department. There's a heartbeat to the sales department, and it's your job. You have to quicken that beat, that cadence of the organization. They all talk different. All these styles are different.
Yeah. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the fixer, and we're going to talk about all 4 of these styles. The book is entitled Right Leader, Right Time. Robert Jordan, who's with me right now, and co-authored with Olivia Wagner. You know what? Great book. You're listening to him here on A New Direction. Folks, two outstanding sponsors. Of course, you know them. I talk about them all the time. Epic Physical Therapy. Listen, whether you're injury, surgery, everyday aches and pains, they work with professional athletes. They work with people like you and me. Here's the point. They will customize a treatment program specifically for you. So when you're ready for your epic relief, your epic recovery, your epic results, don't look any further. Go to epicpt.com. That's EPICPT.com. And Linda Craft Team Realtors, for more than 38 years, they have been serving the world and helping them transition in life. You go, whoa, wait, what do you mean? Helping them transition? I thought they do real estate. Yeah, but think about it. Every place that you've ever lived has been a transition in life. They do everything they can to take the stress out of that transition and make it as smoothly as possible. So when you're ready to make your next transition in life, start with Linda Craft Team Realtors. No matter where you are, they're independently owned and operated, unaffiliated with any national company. So even if you don't live in their area, they can find the right real estate transition expert for you. So just go to lindacraft.com. That's LINDACRAFT.com. And we're back here on A New Direction with Robert Jordan and his co-authored book, Right Leader, Right Time, Discover Your Leadership Style for Winning Career and Company. I want to spend just a couple more minutes before we move on to the artist. There was one thing about the Fixer that stood out to me, and I guess it's this idea of urgency and adrenaline. There seemed to be a little bit of this adrenaline junkie. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, this, the body language even of Fixers is very interesting. These people Fixers feed on the energy of, I don't want to call it crisis, that it's ghoulish, it's not. Right. But for example, Fixers, they love the fact that because there's blood in the streets and the buildings are on fire, that when they come in, they don't have the same kind of situation as in a lot of other organizations. A lot of organizations, there's so many stakeholders and there's conflict and it's going to take time. And who do you have to assuage and who do you talk to here and all that? Fixers love the fact that when they're going in, things are so bad that it's like someone rolled out a red carpet.
Yeah.
Just rolled out the red carpet and said, what do you want?
Right. Yeah.
Now, the price, in a way that a Fixer pays is you can't screw up. You can't be a great Fixer if you don't deliver the goods.
Right.
Now, if everyone thinks, oh, duh, that's the way it is if you lead anything, then no, that's not true. Artists fail constantly. And the world says, great, pick yourself up. And this certainly is true with entrepreneurs, but I don't even just mean entrepreneurs. If you just look at even the literal definition of artist, painters, for example, the work isn't always great. But if you love a particular artist, you don't care about the works that didn't work because they reach these heights, these glorious heights when they hit it.
Right.
In the workspace, the artist is the renegade, the outsider.
Yeah.
They're not always respected. They're making these discontinuous leaps that are not comfortable for anybody in some cases. They're rocking the boat.
Yeah.
That's how you get to the leap. Right.
The Fixer is just so urgent and adrenaline, right? They're so hooked on the adrenaline, the rush of the fix.
Yeah. And look, in the business situation, I mean, because of what we do, we see this every day. And literally, for example, we had a family come to us and it was tragic. They had a business they'd had a long time. They're very proud of it. It was in terrible shape. I'm talking days, hours away from banks foreclosing. And when a Fixer goes in, it's not like these other styles. This is an immediate triage kind of thinking, which is this patient still alive? Are they breathing? Right. In the business sense, it's, these questions. How much cash do you have on hand today, right now? The biggest crises. Are we going to meet payroll? Right? This is lifeblood of organization, and that's the wiring of Fixer.
Mm. And you said that in your interviews, about 50% of the people that you interviewed,
Yeah.
Intuitively identified themselves as fixers.
Yeah. Now this, you could say we're guilty of some selection bias, if you will, because, our initial set, of executives that approach us, they're project based. So among all these thousands, that initial set, these are people who've already set themselves up to be more of not necessarily the mainstream.
Got it.
So it'll be interesting as the FAB's leadership assessment gets taken more broadly, but we knew we had a lot of fixers who were part of the initial set because that's what their wiring was.
Got it. So can we give some words? I've got some words here that you associate with a fixer leader so that people can help identify themselves. First one you have is linear.
Yeah.
A few others. Expeditious.
I'm going to trust you because I don't have the book open at the moment.
Yeah.
Linear is a key thing. Most fixers tend to be like John Ray at FTX right now. I can guarantee you that he's not working on anything else.
Right. Okay.
That's what we mean by linear, as opposed to artist, Elon Musk. He has to work on multiple canvases at one point. Tesla, right. SpaceX, the Boring Company. Right. He has to do that. And Jay, how many different things are you engaged in?
Oh, I've got 2 podcasts, thinking about doing a third. I speak all over the place, right? I'm coaching numerous clients, and I'm, working on another book. I mean,
you're a classic artist.
Right.
You need to do that. Understand, you need to do that.
Right. I do.
You need to do that the rest of your life.
Right.
Cannot. There's a point of overload where it's just you can overload, but your kind of wiring to be successful, you kind of need to look at one thing and work on it, and there comes a point where you have to back off and go to another project. And it doesn't mean that you've lost the thread of the first one.
Right. And it doesn't mean that I don't want to be excellent.
Right.
Because I'm still learning each piece. But it's like, this is just going to get even weirder as we're going to move into artists. But, I got to pick up my guitar every now and then. And I got to, practice for 30 minutes or get on the piano and play a little bit. Right. I've got to do all of that. Right.
We actually should have had you on the guitar while we're doing the show.
Yeah, that would be great. Listen to me to work through some new music and play some old Waylon Jennings. I'm sure that would go great.
It would. Because it's you.
It is absolutely me. It is absolutely, I'm not even going to lie. It is absolutely true. Here's some words for those of you who are wondering if you're a fixer leader: impatient, open-minded, practical, observant, intense, straight shooter, heroic. Those are some of some of the other words that fixers are associated with. All right, so let's move on to the artist, because this is the one that I resonated with and that I tested as my dominant leadership style. And the first thing you said, there's a subtitle that says nonconformist step right up. The name of my coaching company is Coaching Mavericks, which is so nonconformist, right? Because I'm just not a conformist at all, and I resonated with me so much. So lead us into talking about the artist leadership mode.
Artist views the world as a blank canvas or a piece of clay to be molded. We don't have to pick on Elon Musk overly much. He's a great example of artist leader because of his ability to innovate, and truly it is remarkable. I mean, the world really thinks differently of electric vehicles, and the world's moving to all EVs at some point. You can thank Elon for that.
Right.
Had he not shown up as kind of a force of nature, it would have been a lot longer. That's a remarkable kind of artist quality. Artist quality occurs in every walk of life, though. You hear a great marketing message. Steve Jobs, artist leader. He was also surrounded by incredible artists. If anybody remembers the ad campaigns that they used to run, they were phenomenal. He was surrounded by people with that kind of thinking. As we were saying, artist, it's a little bit at your peril. Fixer is something, an energy we think that you grow into and kind of discover in your career. Artist wiring, we think it precedes that. And that it is something where you can't turn it off.
Nope.
That can be a negative.
Yep.
The plus is, I'll tell you the plus, Jay, it's an endless well.
Yeah.
And so despite any troubles you're going to go through, because not all your projects are going to work, and some of them people are going to just say, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And they're going to be right about some of them. The well is endless.
It is.
And that should be a comfort for people out there that if you're wired this way, have hope. I will tell you in organizations, if you have strong wiring like this, and so for example, this is my wiring, the way I am successful is because I'm surrounded with other kinds of leadership competencies, far better than me. And later on, we're going to get into this, but effective leaders collaborate better.
Yeah.
And that has to be the flip side of acknowledging your style is you must acknowledge the styles of folks around you if you're going to be successful.
One of the words that stuck out to me because I think people think that we're just all right-brained as artist leaders, but there is an empiricism to what we do. And that we create and then we learn because we want to know how things behave. Some people want to think that we're kind of analytical. I think I am in some respects, but I am testing and experimenting all the time because there's an empirical nature to it, which is kind of odd. You want to talk about that a little bit more? Well,
there's also you're talking about a great point. We also touched on this in a prior book called How They Did It. The more that you can view what you are doing, call it as experiments, the better. Because what we all tend to do too much is identify, and if it's a success, great. But if you tried something and it failed, the problem for a lot of us is that we say, oh, I failed. That's a huge difference from trying something, didn't work, just it was an experiment and move on, right?
Yeah, no.
We all tend to do this, and especially, well, all forms of wiring, artists included, you have to be very mindful of that. If you hear it in the sense of a scientist, so for example, one of the greatest innovators in the modern age has been Thomas Edison. I mean, what he did was, during his lifetime, was remarkable. Well, the light bulb, everyone's heard this story, 4,000 different filaments, 5,000, 9,000, whatever it was in the thousands.
Yeah.
So if Edison had said after, say, 5 tests of materials, I'm no good, this is never going to work, I'm an idiot, well, right, it sounds ridiculous, but that's the way we treat ourselves on a lot of what we do.
Yeah.
And so a little more dispassionate for artists in terms of what they're working on would be better.
Yeah. I want to bring up one other thing that you said for Renegades, Not Business as Usual. You said the artist as a leader is more likely the anti-leader. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, you want an example. Steve Jobs, when he was leading the Macintosh team, he put up a pirate flag on the top of their building. Now just imagine, Apple was a sizable organization at the time. They had a lot of different products. And what does he do? He sequesters one team of a couple hundred people in the building and, our matey, we're the pirates and the rest of you can whatever. Like, really? I mean, a public company. He was heading a public company, but this was the attitude he took, which is we're the enemy of you all. Mm. He wanted to build esprit de corps for the team. Got it. He did that. It's not necessarily the playbook,
right?
That will sustain forever, but it worked. It worked at the time.
I have said often, I said, I don't know that there's anything original that I do. I just am the BASF of everything, right? I don't know that I actually create anything. I just make things better and more original. But that's part of the artist mantra too, isn't it?
Yeah.
That we don't necessarily create something brand new from scratch, although we do. I mean, but I do see myself off. I'm like, okay, I'm the BASF, right? That's part of us too, isn't it?
You're reminding me one of the stories we put into the book, Kentucky Fried Chicken in the UK. They ran out of the chicken. I mean, all you are is a chicken restaurant.
Right.
When you run out of the chicken, like what? And somebody brilliant at their ad agency, within a day, they took the KFC container, the bucket you get the chicken in, and they switched the letters around, and it said in the same font, FCK. And then they took a photo of it, tipped over, no chicken, just some crumbs. Was that a brilliant response?
Brilliant.
To just own it. This mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. We screwed up.
Right. Yeah.
Right. There's no other response, but that's the person on your team where it's like, good move.
Yeah. I wanted to dig in just real quickly here about the artist as an organizational leader. This is something you said is both aspirational and pragmatic. How do those two work as our leadership style goes forward?
Well, as other authors have commented, your wiring can be artist, but in organization and business, you have to ship.
Yeah.
It only counts to get the work done.
Yep.
Even applies to creative artists. You can have an idea for your greatest canvas, but if you can't finish the picture, ain't never really gonna get acclaimed. And so that is this flip side of allowing your creativity is you have to have the discipline to enroll and enlist other people. I mean, if you're in a solo effort, then it's all on you. But if you're in organization, you're going to be with other people, and they better sign up for what you have going on. You have to make a compelling case if you're going to be successful. It's not enough just to have the idea. You want to go back to the Edison example. Yeah, great thing, invented the light bulb. That didn't mean all of a sudden the streets were lit up. He then created the Edison Electric Company. He then paid to electrify, to light up a couple city blocks to show everyone this is why a light bulb is a good thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy in a way because, we take innovations that become widespread and it's like, oh, this is so obvious.
Right. And yet it's not. It's just not as obvious as we like to think. Just for people, some of the words that are associated: creative, nonconformist, self-reliant, revolutionary, multitasker, relentless, resilient. Oh my gosh, renegade, visionary, outsider, disruptor, aspirational. So if that resonates with you, you may be an artist leader. I'm going to jump now ahead here, and
Jay, just in one other point. Okay to fail a lot.
Oh yeah.
Very okay to fail a lot. Fixers, not okay to fail a lot.
Yeah. Now, failure is extraordinarily important to us. I'm just telling you, it is. It's important because we just have to. We have to fail. It's part of it. And we don't see it as failure. We just recognize that it's one less thing. It's one more thing I could check off my list.
Yeah.
I don't have to go back to. Although sometimes the failure, we'll think as an artist that, okay, it didn't work here, but it may be something either down the road or fits in another situation that it may be right. So that's kind of the other thing that we kind of do. Let's talk about the builder. What is the builder? Because I want to think, well, isn't the builder the fixer? But it's not. It's a little different. What defines the two?
Builder is the leadership energy that everyone first is like, of course I'm a builder. I'm in an organization. We build. Got it. We mean something more specific here, which is builder is the energy that can take the small, the nascent product, team, client relationships and take them to scale, to a point of market domination. What you tend to see with builder energy is that once they've achieved that scale, that market domination, they're going to leave. They're going to move on they're going to go for something else where they have the same challenge. Can they get to dominance? So, for example, you do see this in companies where they achieve an IPO and then you see the CEO leaves because they just, once it's beyond that it's achieved scale, it's no longer challenging or interesting for them. You'll see them go back and do it all over again. You see this inside of companies. Someone successfully builds up a division, gets boring once you cornered the whole market. Now, when we say market, we don't necessarily mean the world. Occasionally I go to Boston and there's a bakery chain in Boston I love. And in Boston and the suburbs, they're not only, to my way of thinking, the best, but they're dominant. At the heart of that bakery, and they're not in any other city, at the heart of that bakery, there's a builder. There is a builder that said, I own the Boston market. This is it.
Got it. Got it. His name is Robert Jordan and co-written with Olivia Wagner. The book is called Right Leader, Right Time. It's absolutely fantastic, folks. I'm telling you, discover your leadership style for a winning career and company. You're listening to him here on A New Direction. Hey, folks, Epic Physical Therapy, they offer the most advanced top-of-the-line equipment, including the Ultra G anti-gravity treadmill, the Normatec compression sleeves, my favorite, the Game Ready. It's ice and compression all at the same time. It's amazing. That's just a few. Listen, they're certified and trained the most comprehensive, cutting-edge treatments available, like blood flow restriction therapy, dry needling, cupping, and that's just a few. Listen, when you want your epic relief, your epic recovery, your epic results, go to epicpt.com. That's EPICPT.com. And Linda Craft Team Realtors, listen, they have been helping people, thousands of people, transition in life, by helping them either buy their first home, their next home, or selling their home so that they can transition to whatever that next transition in life is. They would love to help you. There is a reason why her clients call Linda Craft Team the legends of customer service. You need to find out why as they help you transition to your next life stage. You can learn more by going to lindacraft.com. That's LINDACRAFT.com. And we're back here on A New Direction with my friend Robert Jordan and Right Leader, Right Time. Fabulous book, available Amazon and bookstores anywhere. Listen, if they don't have it on the shelf, tell them they should. Right? That's the point. You know what? Get it. It's absolutely fabulous. Robert, does this come in Audible too? I didn't remember if I saw that. I know it's in Kindle.
Yeah, on Audible, we recorded an additional 4 hours. We went back into recording studios with 8 of the leaders from the book.
Awesome. Okay, awesome. So the leaders some of the leaders that you interviewed in the book that you talk about in the book are going to be there too as well. So
we went back in real time and then they had the book in hand and kind of said, okay, what do you think now?
Yeah. That's awesome. So folks, if you're an Audible, if your person loves to listen to books, I'm telling you, this is going to be a good one for you to listen to. Just to finish up here on the builder, you have this, I can't help but remember the line from the movie, but show me the money. What do you mean? Show me the money. A successful builder can be an investor's best friend. What do you mean?
Well, see, there's got to be a practical side to all of these styles. And, for the builder, it's you're going to conquer that market or be damned.
Right.
It is also, we believe, like Fixer, a linear style.
Okay.
Successful builders tends to be you are on one mission at a time. Or put it another way, if you have a friend who earlier on was successful building up a company and this is it, and then all of a sudden there are 5 things that they're doing, unless they're really artist energy, it may not go as well as when they were really dedicated to that one thing. We see Fixer and Builder as very linear and Artist and Strategist as being very parallel.
Got it. Some words associated with the builder leader: market-oriented, dominating, hands-on, persistent, agile, precise, unstoppable, scrappy, diligent, focused, detail-oriented, and process-driven. Just, again, I found myself having a few of these, but I had all the artists. I did. I had every one of the artists. All right. Number 4, the strategist. Oh, what are we talking about here?
Strategist is our term for leader at scale, leader of complex or vast organization. This is not the small s strategist, which is that we all think about strategy. If we're in any leadership role, we get that. We could have used a word here like pilot, conductor, captain. This is the leader who excels beyond what Stephen Covey called personal span of control. A lot of fixers, artists, and builders, they're at team size of 5 people, 10, 15, 50, maybe 100, 150. But generally speaking, there are relationships and trust between the people, and they're using that trust to advance the organization. The strategist, they do not have the luxury of personal relationships with everyone. One of the leaders we interviewed for the book, Dr. Janine Davidson, she had been the Undersecretary of the Department of Defense in the US, and specifically in charge of the Navy. Now, when you're running hundreds of thousands or millions of people, not running, when you're nominally in charge there, what is that like? And the language of strategist is very different. She talked about systems of systems. You're influencing at a completely different level and in a completely different way from the other styles. The language of a strategist, it's about loyalty to an organization. It's about being mentored and mentoring. It's about being cross-trained. It's about having longevity typically within one organization. That is not the way fixers, artists, and builders talk. Very different energy.
Yeah, very different. You talk about, some of the things you talk about is vision and mission. Is this the most visionary of the 4?
It perhaps visionary is not quite the right word, but it is of the 4, perhaps the one most conscious of how vision and mission are a foundation for what they need to build and continue to build. So we talked a little about this before, but the mantra for strategist is cadence. It is thinking that there's a heartbeat to an organization. There's a heartbeat to the board of directors, to the marketing team, to the biz dev team, that they kind of have these syncopated rhythms. And your job as strategist, as a leader of a group or an organization or the whole thing, you're trying to quicken the heartbeat there of what's going on. One of the strategists we talked to, he ran an insurance company, 15,000 people. And he said, you know, at large and complex organizations, the bottom of your team, the total workforce, something's going to happen to them. And he meant they're not going to be there forever. And he said the very top of your organization, they're so motivated, you really don't need to worry that much.
Right.
They're doing their thing. He said there's a vast middle to a lot of complex and large organizations. And this is where you have to have genius if you're a strategist leader, which is how do you move the vast middle?
Yeah.
That's not a consideration you hear from fixers, artists, and builders.
Yeah. I think my wife is a strategist. I really do, because that is so her. I really, because, you know, she has her own company, and I think that's so her. Because the other thing you talk about is the pressure for consistent results. That's her. Strategists keep a cool head. My wife is so level cool-headed with her people. I mean, it's amazing how it doesn't matter. She just has a cool head about it. And you're right. You know what? Everything that you said is she's looking for the heartbeat and she's trying to speed it up, is what she's trying to do. That's really, really cool.
Strategy. We got all this, you know, we learned this from all these leaders we've been around for many years, and also in the process of doing the book. And I thought it was absolutely poetic. The first strategist, he said, there's a heartbeat here.
Yeah.
And you've got this responsibility to nurture and to quicken the pace of that. And I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah, here's some of the words. I agree with you. Here's some of the words: reliable, decisive, empowering, visionary, trustworthy, strong, accountable, loyal, adaptable, disciplined, mission-driven role model. Well, yeah, that's my wife. I mean, she does have a stomach for internal politics, by the way. She has a stomach that I don't, by the way.
Neither. Me too.
I don't have that. Chapter 5, the mighty forces will come to your aid, applying the FAB style to your organization. You have 3 basic principles here. Leaders who combine strengths. Principle 1: leaders who combine strengths, multiplying force in a changing, evolving organization. What are we trying to convey to organizations and to leaders who discover who they are?
We think there are 3 common pillars among what we call FABS leaders, FABS for these highly effective leaders who exhibit a dominant style. So there are these 3 commonalities, these pillars. One is this tendency to double down, to keep on reinforcing a strength that they have. The second is they're collaborating far more effectively than most leaders. Everybody gives lip service to, I'm really great collaborating. But the more that you have confidence and trust in what you are great at, the more you can have an ability to feel the same way about other people on your team, in their strengths and in their dominant leadership style, and therefore to help them. The third is what we call leaders who don't hide. It's probably best illustrated by one of the negative examples we use, which was a few years back, Wells Fargo got in trouble because they created millions of what turned out to be fake accounts. They were cross-selling, and it was promoted from the C-suite, which is that, if you had a credit card, they wanted you to have a checking account. You had a mortgage, they were doing this. And it turned out the customers, a lot of them never knew these accounts were being opened up. Well, they hauled the CEO in front of Congress. And now he's there, and they're talking about how many quarterly earnings calls for years on end he's promoting cross-selling and all that. And it turned out to be a sham. They said to him, what of it? And he said, well, that wasn't me. That was the board. Now, anyone with any vague understanding of business knows that's not the function of the board. The board was not responsible for that. He just didn't want to take responsibility for what he had done. Right. And luckily, he was banned from banking thereafter. And that's what we mean by hiding.
Got it.
You tend to go further the more you're willing to be held to account. Yeah. And this is also one of, the book, the primary reason for the book was we wanted to put out a message to people younger in their careers. This message about don't try to be all things to all people, but also seek to be held to account. It can be scary, but that's where you actually get to enjoy life. And frankly, most of the time when you don't accomplish all of your goals, it's okay. Because if you're still willing to say, yeah, that was on me, that thing that didn't work that great, people appreciate it. It doesn't mean you're not going to be set up for success in the future.
In just a couple minutes, because we're almost finished our hour, believe it or not. In a couple minutes, seek your highest and best use. What are you trying to help us understand and do as leaders, regardless of which one of the 4 we are?
You want to fire on all cylinders. And it is not that, all of us have situations we're in where it's like, yeah, I got to just get through this. I get that. But effective leaders, and I'll put it the other way as well, Jay, which is effective leaders reject more of what is not for their highest and best use. So in my career, what I see every day, I see leaders doing this, and it's not easy. They're also at a place where they're comfortable doing it. When you're early on in your career, it's very hard. You need the job. You need the money. You need everyone to know you're employed. I get that. But there's something that happens for successful people as they move through their careers that gradually, more and more, they start gravitating. It's this word decision, the Latin, which is to kill off. That you have to kill off a lot of things, right? We're in a FOMO culture, but you have to kill off a lot of things to get to your good.
It's beautiful. We've done it, friend. We've done an hour. You've been absolutely outstanding. How can people get a hold of you?
Thank you, Jay. People can reach me at interimexecs.com.
interimexecs.com. All right. That's awesome. And then of course they could take the assessment at rightleader.com. I'm going to, when the show goes to the blog post that we have, I'll have the links to leader exec. Is it leader exec or interim exec?
Interim Execs is the website where people can.
I'll have that. And I will also have a link to the assessment at rightleader.com on the blog post associated with the show. So do take the assessment. I'm really encouraging you to take the assessment. I have found it so valuable. I have found this book tremendously valuable as well. And I think you will too, whether you buy it audibly, Kindle, or get it at the bookstore or order it through Amazon. I'm just telling you, it's incredibly valuable. I can't say it enough. Folks, this is the show. You know what I say to you every week, right? And that's this. You know, you're in control of three things in your life: your attitude, your effort, and your resiliency. Doesn't matter what the circumstances are. You can control those things, right? I know it can be difficult. I know it can be hard. I know that it's not what you want right now, but if you control those three things, life will change for you. I promise you it will. I'll be back next week with another great guest. It's going to be another great book. It's going to be another great show. As I say to you every week, thank you so much